What's up YouTube? Welcome to today's video, and we are gonna go over the hottest topic in raid class, which is what is going on with the Divine Orb price. Currently Divine Orbs are at an all-time high. If I go into the game, let's see, it is actually just going crazy. Pretty sure that Divine Orbs are nearly almost 300 chaos. They're at 270 to 280 right now, and I don't really know what's gonna happen. It's just gonna keep going up because people are afraid and they're converting all of their chaos orbs into the Divine Orbs, but it is pretty much hyperinflation taking over in PoE. Now, the Divine Orb price is kind of going out of control because of a multitude of factors, and it's rapidly approaching 300C. This is the graph from the league, and as you can see, it started off pretty low, around 30, 40, but once the heisters did a lot of chaos orb recipe stuff, it goes up slowly over 100. And then recently, once people found out about how profitable the Syrian Exarch altars and everyone and their moms running the red Syrian Exarch altar has gone up even more, till now it's almost 300C. Now 600C is a very, very important price point, and even 300 chaos is really important. We'll go over later why, purely because of the trade window size only going up to 600 chaos. And this has led to inflation, making people feel like they just can't afford their item upgrades anymore as their current currency strategy becomes less and less profitable, while the items that they're trying to buy are still pegged in terms of Divine Orbs. So here's Zizarin saying he went live and lost $480. Thanks a lot, Path of Exile. So he probably had a lot of currency and Chaos Orbs. And Jung right here, who does the one Divine Ubers, is saying that the nice part about the PoE economy going to shit is now that no one has any excuse to not be clearing 7 out of 7 Ubers on one Divine, purely because you can get so many items now with one Divine, especially if your items are priced in terms of chaos. Now, we might be wondering why is this happening, and there are a multitude of factors like I said. So first off, we have the removal of loot goblins. Now, the removal of loot goblins was really, really bad because they replaced it with absolutely nothing. People used to find 20 or even 30 Divine Orbs. This guy found 30 Divine Orbs from one mob. And that's actually more Divine Orbs than I have probably personally found the whole league. So he got more Divine Orbs than one mob. Now, this was pretty much replaced with nothing, as rarity does not scale the currency conversion anymore. So even if you find a loot goblin nowadays, I think all it drops are alteration orbs. And in the past, even if you weren't magic finding, you would still get like 5 Divine Orbs here and there, 7 Divine Orbs maybe if your map had enough juice on it, or if you clicked on some of the currency duplication altars. However, that's just completely gone, and I do think that this does have a pretty big impact in softcore trade. Now, another thing is I do feel like Divine Orbs are a lot rarer overall. When I did my SSF run to 100 in the Delhi Everywhere League last league, I did find probably around 20 to 30 raw divines just from loot goblins and random drops. However, this league I played through and I'm almost 100 on my character, and that's with a lot of deaths. I think I only have like 10 raw Divine Orbs, which is pretty crazy. So I do think that overall the amount of raw Divine Orbs being dropped from the maps is exceptionally low and at an all-time low point. Now, next up we have Syrian Exarch altars. So right now, a lot of strategies all revolve around Alch and Go, purely because everyone is trying to do the Sanctum as fast as possible, and there's no way to get more Sanctum since you do have to trade for it. And Syrian Exarch, every single altar is dropping Chaos Orbs, right? Or not every single altar. It's not very uncommon to walk out of a map with 20 Chaos Orbs or something like that. And this is actually killing the price of Divine Orbs because there's just too much Chaos Orbs everywhere. You get it absolutely like candy when you run these Alch and Go strategies. Now, Sanctum is another source of Chaos Orbs in huge quantities. If you defer all of the rewards, whenever you get a Chaos reward, you get 14 Chaos. It's not very uncommon to come out of a Sanctum. If you focus on the Chaos rewards, you come out with like 200 Chaos Orbs or maybe even 300 Chaos Orbs. Now, the Sanctum is also one of the biggest sources of Divine Orbs, but however, Divine Orb rewards only really show up on the last 2 floors, with most of it being on the last floor, and most people do not get to that stage. A lot of people's builds are either not strong enough or they just can't do the last 2 floors because they're not good enough at dodging everything or they don't have the DPS necessary. And this is actually a huge problem because Sanctum does drop a large source of my Divines. If I had to say, I have probably gotten more Divine Orbs from Sanctum than actually playing the base game. And that's kind of sad. But it is what it is. And it does seem like Divine Orbs are common in Sanctum, but is not common for most people because it's a very high barrier of entry league mechanic towards the end. Now, next up, we have no Divine Shards or farmable Divination cards that drop Divine Orbs. And they did add this card into the game, and a lot of people thought, oh wow, we're going to be able to farm some Divine Orbs if we magic find the map that has this card. Now, the problem is this card is a complete troll, and it only drops from the bosses that have the Merval tile set or monster type. So you can only get it from the boss of Maelstrom of Chaos, Underground Sea, Mineral Pools, or Waku, Wairu, Tau, Ahaha. So basically, you are not going to be getting this card in high quantities, as you pretty much have to kill a boss, which makes it so that this card's total supply is going to be pretty low. And I do think that this is one of the problems with the Divine to Exalted Orb change, was that they removed a lot of the supply of Divine Orbs and how you farm it, whether it's through Harbinger or it is through divination cards like the Scout or Brother Stash, and they replaced it with nothing, so Divine Orbs are rarer than ever. Now we have to see, what do people actually use Chaos Orbs and Divine Orbs for? And you will be able to see really quickly that Chaos Orbs have really no use case currently in PoE because the map device mods are so bad. So Divine Orbs are pretty much used for meta mod crafting items and divining exceptional unique. So if you have a Mage Blood, or you have Ashes of the Star, or you have an Omni or something like that, and you want to divine it, or Headhunter. And also for crafting, and this is pretty much the only way to craft any item nowadays at the high end, and is to use meta mod crafting. So you have prefixes cannot be changed, you have suffixes cannot be changed, you have cannot roll attack modifiers, cannot roll caster modifiers, and multi-mod. And every single one of these crafts requires Divine Orbs. So if you see right here, it has 2 divines, 2 divines, 1 divine, 1 divine, and then the prefix has suffixes cannot be changed, also 2 divines. And since crafting is in such a horrible state in PoE currently, where the crafting methods are all revolved around multi-meta modding, you will see that most people have to use Divine Orbs in order to craft items. Now, in terms of Chaos Orbs, the league mechanic stuff is really, really bad. So we have Fortune Favors the Brave, which is what probably most people use. We have Anarchy, which no one's going to put on. Dominations, which is incredibly cheap, but actually pretty good to put on, but it's only like 4 chaos. You have Breach, which is overpriced. Beyond, which actually is just terrible. And Harbinger, which is not too bad, but not many people are putting it on. Delirium and the Sextant or Compass is currently cheaper than this. And Ritual, which is just a complete troll without the blood-filled vessel. So you can see here, most people are literally spending their Chaos Orbs, putting on a 3 Chaos Orb craft, in comparison to before, where they would sometimes be putting on a 16 Chaos Delirium craft on the map device. And eventually, I do think if Chaos Orbs become super, super plentiful, I do think that people will probably start spamming for expensive cluster jewels, because you could spam for a Phantom Blades cluster. A lot of people ask me, how do you actually craft like Phantom Blades cluster? And sometimes you might just want to Chaos spam and exalt on the suffix to try to hit it, and it's very, very possible that you could do that if you Chaos spam cluster. So I do think that that could be a use case of Chaos Orbs later on. And simply, right now, there's not enough Chaos sinks in the game for how easy it is to get Chaos with Searing Exarch and Sanctum. So we have too much supply and no use cases for Chaos Orbs that you can use in large quantities. So we just have this ever increasing amount of Chaos. And this is very similar to the past in Heist, except it's backwards, where people were generating Exalts out of thin air, and the Exalt to Chaos ratio became around 20 Chaos to 1 Exalt. So this is pretty much in reverse. But the main problem here is that there is a Chaos stack size problem, and this is why Divine Orbs going to 600 Chaos could probably be one of the best things ever in PoE to happen, because right now in a full trade window, we can only have room for 600 Chaos Orbs. And right now, if Chaos Orbs go above 300 Chaos, which is a mere formality at this point, I do think that Chaos Orbs will go above 300 C sooner or later, with pretty much just like panic setting in. It's at 270. I think it was at 280 earlier. But once it goes above 300 chaos, that means that we can only trade for one divine orb at a time. So even if we get all of these chaos orbs from the altar, in order to trade for 5 divine orbs, I will have to make 5 separate trade windows and put in a bunch of chaos, which just sounds like pure misery. And if it goes above 600 chaos orbs, that means one trade window is not even enough to buy one divine orb. So what people will have to do is maybe convert their chaos to exalted orbs and then trade a certain amount of chaos with some exalted orbs to buy one divine, which is just a horrible, horrible quality of life thing. And it might force you to actually trust someone and say, oh, I'll give you that 20 or 30 chaos afterwards if, for instance, chaos to divine ratio is 630 chaos. And that's just something that is a very, very dangerous thing down the line. Now, overall, I do think that people will eventually switch over to blue altars as the ratio keeps getting worse. I actually think that blue altars are not so bad. If we actually look at the price of invitations for, let's see, I actually have one of these. So you can see the red invitation is around 140 chaos. So 0.5 divine. And then this one's 152 chaos. So it's slightly a little bit more. And also when you do the blue altars, you do have the divine altar chance. And not to mention, you spend a lot less time in your map picking up random junk off the ground. And I do think that that actually matters a lot for out and go strategies. And it allows you to do more sanctums. And if you're good at sanctums, you do get a large source of divine orbs. Now, if the trade system in PoE wasn't so absolutely pathetic and bad in the sake of selling us more stash tabs, then the divine to chaos ratio would not matter if there was a bulk currency auction house just for commodities, or if GGG just makes it so that you can stack the chaos orbs like the rogue markers. So right now, if you look at rogue markers, right, you go to the heist locker, you see the rogue marker stacks in like 1600. There's no reason why chaos orbs should be stacking in stacks of 10. Besides that, it's pretty much grandfathered in at this point. And I do think that if the chaos orbs keep going up, I think that enough posts on Reddit will eventually make GGG change it so that the stack size of currencies will be more updated to be the rest of the game where stuff stacks infinitely. And that is the best possible outcome for everyone. Now, the worst part about this is that there's been a lot of people in my chat or even in YouTube comments mentioning that they feel like certain strategies lose their value and that they can never afford their upgrade. And this is a big thing because if you think about it, Headhunter and Mageblood are still priced in terms of divine orbs, and they probably will be forever. And that means that the average player is making less and less divine orbs per hour. And that makes it so that they can no longer feel like they can get their upgrades fast enough. And that's just a horrible, horrible thing. And if you look at Omni, it's not like Omni is getting cheaper, right? It's actually at 20 divines still. Or it's actually at 18 divines, which is pretty expensive. You look at other items like Mageblood or Apothecary, they're all around the same price in divine orbs. So the buying power of the casuals is much lower, as you can see here in this Reddit post. At 260C per divine, gear priced in divines has quickly become unreachable for many people as the average map quickly loses value. And you can see right here, it even says it's really killing my will to grind. So it's kind of sad to see. But overall, I hope everyone found this video useful in terms of understanding what drives the price of divine orbs and chaos orbs. That is pretty much just simple economics at this point. But with economics, everything will balance out in the end, right? But the problem is that the trade system is so bad in PoE that the stack size thing will have horrible repercussions until GGG steps in and tries to fix it. Because trading all of your chaos orbs to divine orbs now is probably the most tedious thing known to mankind. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more mirrors, divines, and chaos orbs than me, and see you next time. Bye.